working. All right, good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you for having me come up here. First of all, disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer at all. Any pictures used of people is not a statement of guilt or their innocence. It's just a picture that's out there. I'm not a cop as well. I'm just a dude that simply wants to make a difference. Short little thing, thank you. Short little thing about my background. I am a CISSP, certified ethical hacker, Cisco certs. I worked 10 years for the Central Intelligence Agency doing counterintelligence work. I spent 7 years at America Online as their senior investigator for computer crime, which is where all of this really came from. So with that, a little bit about my company. What does IPT, Internet Predator Tracker, do? Well, Internet Predator Tracker, or IPT, is a company I created that is dedicated to providing free software to law enforcement and to the public. When I was working at America Online for 7 years, every police officer, every federal agent that came in, they had no money to spend on any of this. They had to get funding specifically for everything. So when I was working there and dealing with all these problems and issues, I decided, you know what, I'm tired of it. I'm just going to spend my own money, develop my own software, give it to them for free. We also provide software to the public in order to allow them to report suspected predators and pedophiles. This is something I started, my first program was developed in 2007. And it was because I got the idea that here you've got Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Opera, Safari, all of these great tools out there to browse the web, but not a single one of these tools had anything for you to report a website. Working at AOL, I knew exactly how it went. And for anybody that's offended by this, I'm real sorry, but this is the truth about it. We'd get a report from a AOL user that this was a bad site, this was a site about whatever. Well, delete, go on to the next thing. We didn't worry about it because we had federal warrants to deal with, county warrants to deal with, state warrants to deal with, subpoenas to deal with. Getting reports from people never got to my group. I was in Operations Security, OPSEC. They went over to our other people that dealt with that. So there was no way to get anything reported. And having worked there, I knew once a website was reported and they knew that they had been reported, the website had a lifetime of maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. So by the time anybody finally got around to it, it was gone. So that's why I started developing these tools for the public. I also teach classes online. I go around to schools and teach PTA associations. I teach parents what to do because I can tell you, I spend my time doing computer forensics. I spend my time as a private investigator working on computer crime cases for people. I can tell you 95% of every adult that comes to me with some sort of issue about their child, teenager, whatever, has no clue about what to do with their phone, their computer, their tablet, anything. When I show them the very basic things they should know, they're amazed by it. So I had to create a set of tools that made it real simple and had to teach them a real simple procedure. The public software that we've got out there is Pedophile Reporter, Crime Reporter, Mail Sleuth, and Internet Predator Tracker software. This one is for law enforcement only and very select individuals. Everything else is all public information. Right now, IPT, like I said, this is why I did this. We are the only software for reporting predators and pedophiles for Internet Explorer, Firefox, Google Chrome, Safari, Opera, Outlook, Thunderbird, and Android. We're the only tool out there that collects the information properly and sends it off so you can click one button and that's it. I can tell you, Internet Explorer was okay to deal with, the Microsoft people. Firefox and Thunderbird, the Mozilla people, fantastic to work with. They have bent over backwards to help me out with a lot of things. Google Chrome, strangely enough, Google was extremely helpful as well. Safari didn't want anything to do with me whatsoever. They turned down every single petition I put in, said, no, we're not going to approve this whatsoever. So found a backdoor way to do it. Opera was great, and Android, well, Android's Android, so it was rather easy to do it. So how bad is this really? when I'm talking about predators and pedophiles, we've all seen the stories on TV. We've seen the MSNBC Dateline reports, okay? We've seen reports on TV. We've heard about this. But really, how serious are predators and pedophiles to you guys right now? Let's see how bad it really is. Let's look just 1 mile from where we are right now. We have 3 sex offenders within 1 mile of where we are right now. If we step out to 3 miles, this is now what we're dealing with. Let's just step out to 5 miles. That's it. 5 miles of our hotel. This is how many we're dealing with. Yes?
Are these all pedophiles or these just sex offenders?
These are members of the sex offender registry. Noted ones, not all the ones that never got put into it. So if you can imagine that these are the reported ones, multiply that by 3, and you'll get probably what it really is.
How many are there right now?
A lot. I'd say we're looking probably at 37 or so, right in within 5 miles of where we are. I don't want to, no, I'd rather not do this room and find out that I'm going to be in trouble. So, question is, what now? This, you have to understand, this is a serious problem we're dealing with. There are a lot of people out there. Law enforcement is working every day trying to do something about this, but you know what? Getting online predators, online pedophiles are unfortunately at the very bottom of their list. Very bottom of the list. Because they don't have funding for it, they don't have resources for it, they don't have training for it. That's why I'm looking to everybody here in this room. Everybody here knows 1,000 times more than the average cop, unfortunately. Okay? All the cops know how to do is use Facebook chat to chat with their friends and others. So what I want to try and do is get everybody up to speed on not only how to collect the evidence properly, because it's one thing to collect the evidence. If you just grab the evidence of something happening, of a pedophile, you get, oh, here's this child porn. Well, number one, you're going to jail because you have child porn, okay? That's one of the things that when you look at my tool, Pedophile Reporter, the one thing it does not do is it will not grab the images whatsoever. It'll grab the URL to it, but it will not grab the image. It grabs everything else because I can't have my servers getting pulled down by the cops every other day. We average about, on a good day, probably 140 reports a day. On an easy day, probably 60. So, I mean, we've got lots of people out there that are just using this all the time. Now, one of the things you got to remember, though, is, you know, yeah, I showed that graphic. It was kind of funny to see all, you know, how many sex offenders that are registered are so close to us. But this is a real situation. One of the biggest things that impacted me to make me do this, okay? Again, I'm nonprofit. I don't make a dime from any of this. It cost me money to build every tool, to burn all the CDs, to send out to the police, to develop my new tools. One of the things that impacted me was, again, like I said, when I was at AOL, it was me and one other guy, Johnny. We ran all of Ops Security. We dealt with every subpoena. This was years and years before we had anything automated. It was all by hand that we had to do this. And one of the worst times ever was I got a request for what we called a traveler. Traveler was when a kid met somebody online and then went to go meet with them. So I got the paperwork for this traveler. Unfortunately, the child was killed by the pedophile. So I'm dealing with the paperwork afterwards. I'm having to download every email, every picture that was there, everything. Well, we had a little backdoor ghost program we used so that when we used it, we would be invisible. Nobody would see us while we were doing it. Unfortunately, I had been doing too many things at once and dealing with so much stuff. We got to activate the ghost program. So I start getting all these chats from the kids' friends. And since that day, this is all I've ever wanted to do, spend my time doing this. Just having to deal with these little kids that are asking, what happened? And we thought something bad had happened. All the things they said to me, I've never forgotten that. That's why I do this. And that's why I hope some of you will join. So what can you do? Again, I want to educate you on what the police and the DA need in order to prosecute a pedophile predator. Because the thing is, if you don't collect the right information, it gets tossed out. And you've just wasted your entire time doing this because the pedophile or predators are going to get right back on the street, and now they know what you were looking for. They know you're looking out for them, and all of that work has been wasted. So I want to show you exactly what to collect and how to collect it, because again, with law enforcement, they don't understand things like electronic evidence. They don't understand why is it so important you've got a report here from something called InMap? Why is it so important you have this thing called a MAC address? They don't understand, well, why are you using Wireshark? We have to educate them. We need to collect it properly. And again, I want to challenge every single one of you to help out, whether you want to help out a little more directly or if you just want to download the tools and just click the button whenever you see a website. But I want to challenge every one of you to help out so that you can help put that pedophile or predator into Bubba's cell with him and make him Bubba's new something. And most of all, I want to make everybody here a hero so that you too can be able to think a little bit better about how things are. So let's talk about how to become a hunter online. What it takes. Well, first of all, you're going to need a target. You have a target to go after. So I'm going to show you how to find the targets to go after. And again, the information I'm providing about the websites, the groups, the places, it's not guilt or innocence. I'm simply providing you information. I want to show you how to collect the evidence, and more importantly, the correct evidence. Because the number one problem I ran into when I first started this was I'd hand over all the evidence, thought I did everything properly, get with actually an attorney. Unfortunately, it was District Attorney Lush in Gwinnett County. That actually is his last name, Lush. He threw it all out because I didn't have the proper collection of evidence, meaning he said, well, this is all fake. I can't say any of this is real. And I said, whoa, 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 hang on. See this little thing in here called an SH1? Because this was a few years ago. This proves that I have not modified any of this. So I had to educate him on all that. Unfortunately, he threw the whole thing out. So the next one, he got a little bit smarter about. I'm going to show you how to package the information. Because guess what? You can't hand them a CD and walk away. It's not going to work. And I'm going to show you how to deliver it. So why does the pedophile get out? Why is suddenly you find a pedophile, he's trading child porn, he's talking to you because he thinks you're a 12-year-old girl or a 12-year-old boy, and he's trying to have sex with you? Why do they get out? Well, first of all, the hunter, that would be all of you, used entrapment. So I'm going to teach you what is entrapment. The wrong evidence is collected. You missed a vital piece of evidence. I want to show you every piece of evidence that I turn in with every single one of my reports that are not being rejected anymore. It took about a year and a half before finally the DA and other people I dealt with finally said, okay, we like everything that's here. I'm also going to tell you how to securely store your information, because unfortunately you can't hand them a USB stick. They won't take it because they're looking for evidence that has not been altered whatsoever. Next, the information was not packaged for the police or the DA. This works all the time against us, because if you hand the evidence to the police or to the DA and it's not properly packaged, meaning your first grade reader book about what is computer evidence that you have to hand in to the police as well, they just look at it and go, oh, this is just a bunch of computer stuff. I don't care about that. You might be able to find the person that handles cybercrime with the police. They can work with you. But if you don't, you've got to have a nice little book you hand to them that explains in detail, very simple terms, what all this evidence is and why it has not been altered. And the other reason why pedophiles get out, NBC Dateline got involved. So we're not looking for movies, we're not looking for TV stars, nothing like that. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I have to keep doing that all the time. Entrapment. Biggest thing when it comes to entrapment is, oh crap. What did I do wrong this time? So let's cover what exactly is entrapment so that all of you can make sure that you don't do this, okay? Because I'm going to use exactly what North Carolina says about entrapment. North Carolina says the essence of entrapment is the inducement by a law enforcement officer or their agents, that's all of you, your agents, of a person to commit a crime when, before the inducement, that person would not have committed the crime. So you can't go up to anybody in the bar and start talking to them about, hey, what about the 12-year-old girl, blah, blah, blah. And then go, all right, we got a pedophile. Because there's nothing there to prove that this guy or this lady ever would do anything like that. So you've got to show an established background. Otherwise, it's entrapment. They've got to show that they've been able to do this before. You've also got to look at the aspects of if they were persuaded and you've got to look at whether if you had persuaded an otherwise unwilling person to commit an unlawful act. So again, the bar situation, if everybody's drinking, you're out of luck because that's going to go against you. Inducement may take many forms, including persuasion, fraudulent representations, threats, coercive tactics, harassment, promises of reward, or pleas based on need, sympathy, or friendship. Now, the one that I find really gray is fraudulent representations. Because all the time, law enforcement, their agents, represent themselves as an underage child. So, the fraudulent representations I find really gray. I've never had a DA or a federal agent come up to me and say, no, you represented yourself as a 10-year-old girl, we're throwing all this out. That never happened. Now, if I did something where I kind of persuaded the guy, where he's going, no, I don't think so, no, well, come on, it'll be, and I kept pushing. Well, again, that's persuasion. The pedophile, the predator, has to come to me. Once he or she starts talking to me about this, then everything's going good. Entrapment is about two things, intent and predisposition. Would this person have ever talked to a child about having sex? Ever? The answer is no. You got a case you're not going to win. So, intent and predisposition. Was the person predisposed to commit a crime based on prior behavior and actions, and did that person intend to commit a crime that he conceived in his own mind? In other words, you can't say to him as a 10-year-old girl, I want you to come over to my house and blank me. They have to show the intent. Hey, let me come over. Let me bring you some alcohol. Let me bring some blah, blah, blah over. Then that's their intent showing. And when a person is predisposed to commit an offense that is ready and willing to violate the law, the fact that state officials or their agents, again, that would be you, merely afforded opportunities for him or her to do so does not constitute entrapment. That's our saving grace. And again, right here, can anybody say sex offender registry? Everybody there is predisposed to commit a sexual crime according to the law. That's what we're having to deal with. Now, do not collect photos. I said it before. You can't collect photos because you're violating federal law, not to mention state laws as well. Get the URL. Don't download the photo, SH2 the file, and then delete it. No, you can't do that. Just get the URL going to it. Let the law enforcement people deal with actually pulling the photo. Or after you've built up enough of a reputation with them, and you're working with them, and you're sitting there with them, then it's okay because you're under the direction of a law enforcement official. Now again, if you're downloading it, like I've said, you're collecting child porn and you're guilty of it. So here's what you're having to deal with. I want to cover a few laws, unfortunately, just so you understand what is and what is not. It gets into a very, very gray area, especially some of the sites I'm going to show you later on. There's a bunch of them that are just out and out pedophile sites. There are a few that are very, very questionable. Okay? So, federal laws. The 18 U.S.C. Series 2251, sexual exploitation of children, is the production of child porn. 2251A, selling and buying of children. 2252, certain activities relating to having material sexual exploitation of minors. Mainly possession, distribution, and receipt of child porn. That means they email it to you. They have a website. They upload it, download it, all of that. Yes, sir. It's images, video, recorded video, live video. So it's got to be an image of some type, whether recorded or live, is considered child porn. Text is not child porn. Okay? It can discuss, you can violate 18 U.S.C. 2251A when you're talking about selling or buying of children. But here I'm talking specifically about pictures, images, videos that you may have, or that they may send to you. 18 U.S.C. 2252, certain activities relating to material constituting or containing child porn. 2260, production of sexually explicit depictions of a minor for importation into the U.S. Think of all the websites out there, all the websites that have travel destinations. I'm from Georgia. We had a big, scare going on because some people that were in some big positions suddenly had been taking trips. And it turns out the trips were to go overseas to visit certain areas of the country that are known for child porn, child exploitation. So that's one of the other ones we're looking at. Now, what exactly is child porn? That's a hard thing to define. Child porn is defined as any visual depiction of sexually explicit conduct involving a minor, someone under 18 years. Visual depictions include photographs, videos, digital or computer-generated images, indistinguishable from an actual minor. Okay, listen to that one again. Computer-generated images indistinguishable from an actual minor. That's how far this is going now, okay? And images created, adapted, or modified, but appear to depict an identifiable actual minor. So if you take the body of a woman that's over the age of 18 that's nude, and you put a child's head on top of it, you've got child porn. Undeveloped film, undeveloped videotape, and electronically stored data that can be converted into a visual image of child pornography are also deemed illegal visual depictions under federal law. So again, do not collect pictures, videos, any of that. I'll tell you how to deal with that in a minute, though. Images, again, someone contacts you, if you get images of a child whatsoever, you've got to stop everything you're doing. You've got to contact the FBI Innocent Images Task Force. You've got to contact the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Like I said, I do a lot of private investigation cases dealing with computer crime issues, cell phone forensics, computer forensic stuff. Anytime I've got a cell phone, I've had this happen 3 times with me, where I had a cell phone that had a child's picture on it, and they were not clothed. I had to stop, and I called up DA Lush. Said, hey, I'm working on a phone. I got a picture of a naked child. And I'd have to go and meet with him. Now, it turned out each and every time it was that husband or wife, it was their own child. But because I was doing the work, and I came across what is classified as child porn, I had to stop everything I was doing and go and get myself protected by talking to the DA, talking with local law enforcement. So if any of you are doing any sort of forensics work, the minute you see anything that covers the area of child porn, you've got to stop everything you're doing. You've got to contact the FBI or Missing and Exploited Children's Center. You've got to contact either one of those. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to. Sure. Right. It would depend on what the audio is. If it's a tape recording and you've got it from a tape recorder, that's one thing that will probably be pushed off. If you have a recording of it and it was emailed to you, you downloaded it from a website, that's something else, because what is inside that recording? All the information about the website, where it may have come from. That type of information may be buried in that recording. How was it converted? What type of system was it converted from? So, if it's an electronic version coming across the internet, that is one thing. That would be looked into. If it's something that a physical recording and a tape, that's probably not going to do too much. It may lead to an investigation, but right off the top, nothing much there. Yes, absolutely. If you had a voicemail, yes, you could use that because that's trackable. That's what I'm looking at, is how trackable is it. If it's a physical piece of evidence, that's one thing. Voicemail, any sort of recording emailed to you or something like that, that's entirely different because there's trackability there. So, here is a big one. This just came out. It's North Carolina law. Brand new. I think it was enacted in 2012, I believe. Yes. Correct. If you've got a couple of things there. Number one, if you're doing this with just whatever you've got on your computer, just standard Google Chrome, okay? Standard Firefox. That is one thing because you purely could be accidentally coming across it. Now, the software that I've got that is the Pedophile Reporter tool, this is designed so that if you come across a website, because go to Google, type in G.I. Joe, type in Barbie. Guess how many of those links are going to be to porn sites? 80% of them are going to be to porn sites. And so if you click on one of those links and go to it, yes, it's going to store it on your local cache. You can always wipe out the cache. You've got cookies there as well. You've got persistent cookies to deal with. But what they're looking for is your intent. Was your intent to go to that website and download child porn, to access child porn? Because remember, to convict a pedophile, you've got to show predisposition and intent. So if you're just going through the web, doing your surfing, and you click on a link that goes to a child porn site, then that shows that you don't have the intent to go to child porn. You accidentally did it. Everybody that's been working with me, that's been sending in all of these reports, I have not had one individual, not one, over thousands of reports over the past couple of years. Not once has any law enforcement, federal, state, local, contacted me to say, who's the person that sent this? I got to talk to them. They have never contacted me about that. So again, you're looking purely at intent. So if you're going to download the image and put it as part of your package to hand to law enforcement, they're going to come and talk to you. They're going to come and seize your computer. That's why every report that I hand out, every report that I've got for people to use, strips out the image. It has the URL, and the police know that. So that's what they go by. So, yes?
Was there a case, let's say, years ago, where a guy got off, downloaded child pornography, but saw that on download it, the guy automatically downloaded it beforehand?
There was a Wisconsin case in regards to that where the gentleman had been given some links to go to. They turned out to be child porn sites. He went to a handful of them. And he got pulled in by the cops for child porn. He didn't get prosecuted whatsoever for it because here's what happened in the end. They arrested him, pulled him in, started questioning him, and then it comes to find out, oh, you're going through a divorce right now? Who contacted us about that? The wife you're divorcing right now? And she has also said that you've done this, that, and the other. And they also found out that she had put spyware on his computer as well. So that one he got out on, simply because of that. But he was, again, pushed into it. There was no intent. Well, the intent might have been there, but he was not predisposed to do it. He didn't have anything in his background that showed he was a pedophile. So that's the kind of things they're looking at. One other quick thing, as long as you're bringing that up. Case law in Colorado last year. Police arrested a pedophile because he was transmitting child porn. Pedophile goes into court and says, hey, where's the search warrant for this? Where's the subpoena for this? Police said, we don't have one. And the judge said, oh, well, guess what, pedophile? You're still going to jail because your wireless was not encrypted. It was an open Wi-Fi. So if your Wi-Fi is open, the police were given free and clear rein to collect whatever evidence they wanted against the individual without a subpoena. That was only in Colorado State, not federal yet. Federal law, I've been looking at a lot of the whole wireless thing there. It's going court by court, state by state as to what they take. Pretty much everybody's leaning towards, if your Wi-Fi is open, that's it. Anybody can do what they want. If you encrypt it, that's another thing. Yes, sir. To prosecute them, you can't. Oh, would you? Absolutely. Oh, yeah. They would come looking right at you. I had the dubious honor of having put two 80-plus-year-old grandmothers in jail for threatening the president. One of my jobs when I was at AOL was dealing with presidential threats because of my security clearances. That was me. Was that your grandmother? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She was only in there for 24 hours, though. But that's what we had happen, is that we had a couple of hackers that had sent out some viruses that redirected them to the whitehouse.gov site and mailed out a threat. And so it traced back to two 80-plus-year-old grandmothers, and they both were arrested by the Secret Service and hauled in. They found out, sorry, Grandma couldn't have done this. It's obviously it was a mistake, but had to be held for 24 hours. Well, this was years before. This was, 12 years ago. Yes, sir. Right. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, some of it does. Others, I'm not sure about where some of these laws are going. But speaking of laws, brand new North Carolina law bans the use of commercial social networking websites by sex offenders. It is unlawful for a sex offender who's registered to go to a commercial social networking website where the sex offender knows the site permits minor children to become members or to create or maintain personal web pages on the commercial social networking site. Now, for all the really sneaky people here, let's read between the lines. For the purposes of this section, a, quote, commercial social networking website is an internet website that meets all of the following. Is operated by a person, I'm a person, okay, who derives revenue from membership fees, advertising, or other sources. I have Google AdWords on there, so I've got some money coming in. It's like $12 a month. Facilitates a social introduction between two or more persons for the purposes of friendship, meeting other persons, or information exchanges. 3, allows users to create web pages or personal profiles that contain information such as name, nickname of the user, photos placed on the web page, other personal information about the user, and links to the person's web pages on the commercial network. And lastly, provides users or visitors to the commercial social networking website mechanisms to communicate with others, such as a message board, chat room, electronic mail, or instant messaging. So any sex offender, registered sex offender, cannot go to any social networking website like that. A commercial one. You were talking about the open Wi-Fi you've got to collect malware. What if you had something like that? What if you had your commercial social networking website? Perfect way to catch somebody that's doing that. Well, yes. You have to meet this criteria. You have to get money from it, no matter how much money. They don't say you have to make $1,000 a day. You just have to make money. So $1 a month is fine. You have to facilitate introductions, which is they can post. That's introductions. Allows users to create web pages or personal profiles. You do that with every forum. Provides users a way to communicate. Every forum does that. So yeah, any forum can do that. Any sexual offender cannot use that in North Carolina. That's your state law. So that gives everybody here a great little tool for collection of information. A great way to do it. And if you take some of the information you're going to get in a little bit, you can apply it to a website like that, a forum, a chat board, something like that. Yes?
Would it be tied to the forum where you have to hold the age
How are you going to verify that is going to be the question.
let's say it's a dating website. Is the sex offender allowed to use dating website? Because how would you limit what the price has to be on the
But the question is, again, comes down to how are you going to verify that age?
same way they verify the form. So you still have
The biggest way that they would be able to do that is age verification using credit card authorization. Which again, credit card authorization could be mom and dad's credit card. I mean, how many of these websites out there, the dating websites, all the sugar daddy websites out there that have minors on them, all the 16-year-olds. I mean, we've got a handful, I'll say, in Georgia that were just popped by one of the local law enforcement because of that. Because they were all underage on this website, and they facilitated the arrest of a number of individuals for it. So again, age verification is a thing. Yes, sir? Okay. Random answer. Ooh, that's good. Okay, does Gmail is operated by a person who derives revenue from the membership. So that would be Google makes money from it, of course. They facilitate the social introduction between two or more persons for the purposes of friendship, because with Gmail you get your Google Plus pages, and you always get your, you don't even want to go Google Plus, just pure email. Right. If you go by pure Gmail only, nothing else.
G-Chat is included.
Yeah, Google Talk.
That's not necessarily a better option. That doesn't count. You can't also disable G-Chat.
But it facilitates. Yes. And you get, I mean, we know spammers all the time email through Gmail. I would be absolutely in favor of that. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay. Stand up. Oh, yeah. This, yeah, I've had that. I will say, and this is nothing, I'm not saying anything about anything at this moment, but I can say pretty much at every conference I've gone to speak at, that has always been brought up. The sex offender laws and what they classify as a sex offender in my opinion, is way too broad. Because just like you said, you go outside to pee outside and you're classified as a sex offender because you were within 100 feet of a school. If you're plastered to the wall, how do you know where you were? Okay? You pass out drunk and your pants fall off, or somebody is robbing you. I mean, what I'm talking about here purely, I'm talking about the real criminals, the real scum, the pedophiles that go after children, that hurt them, kill them. The predators that go after people that don't know any better, that ruin their lives, not just children's lives, but adult lives as well. Being in the area that I am, I get calls every single month, multiple times from people who have been tracked by somebody online and their life is a living hell because of it. That's a predator. That person does not need to be out in public. That person needs to be locked up because it's one thing to hurt a child, which is the worst possible thing in the world. It's another thing to make somebody's life so miserable that the lady ends up killing herself. That is what I'm talking about. So, this is North Carolina laws. The biggest question I'd have about the Gmail, and again, my first thing is the determination of this law is when they talk about commercial social networking website is operated by a person who derives right there. Does that mean a person in the United States, in the world, or just in North Carolina? That's the answer I don't have. But what I'm saying is, all right, so let's move on. Also note, federal jurisdiction almost always applies when the internet is used to commit a child porn violation. An offender can be prosecuted under state child porn laws in addition to or instead of federal law. So you can get hit with state and federal, or state or just federal. If it goes across state lines. And in the general terms of it, all crimes that committed on the internet go across state lines. Because if you really get down to the nitty-gritty about where's the DNS at. So where's your email at? Perfect example. We've got our Virginia person. Where are you? Okay. And lived in Sterling and Alexandria. Hey, come on, it wasn't that bad. When I was at AOL, when we built up the whole system, all of our email servers for all of the emails for all of AOL in the entire world were in two places, Reston, Virginia, and Dulles, Virginia. So if you're in Japan and you're emailing your friend across the street in Japan, that email comes out of Japan, back to Dulles, Virginia, back out of Dulles, back to Japan. It was done for one reason and one reason only. So we could nail every spammer that used AOL. And we lobbied really, really hard to get very strong anti-spamming laws in Virginia. So that's why we've got to look at where is all this going. And again, most crime on the internet is crossing state lines because it's got to come across the DNS. It's got to do a bunch of other things as well. So what about evidence? Let's talk about what sort of evidence do you need in order to prosecute somebody. In order to get a successful prosecution of a pedophile/predator, the DA needs to have the following. 1, child porn, trading, keeping, wanting. They don't need the pitch. Well, what I'm talking about is what the DA needs, not what you have to give that person. The DA needs child porn, trading, keeping it, or wanting it, solicitation of a minor for sex, and physical presence at a minor's location. Notice here, not for you. Please don't start doing the NBC Dateline stuff yourself. They've done enough of that, okay? If you're going to get involved in that, trust me, once you've worked long enough with law enforcement, you've proven yourself, you've proven your reputation, you've proven your capabilities, you'll be invited to a lot of interesting things. So you don't need to try and set up your own little Dateline NBC scam there. So This is what the DA needs. This is what he kept hammering into my head all the time. This is what I've got to have. Show me this. So how do we get this and what do we get? They need all three for a successful, well, they don't need the physical presence. They can slide on that one. But they absolutely need child porn, trading it, keeping it, or wanting it, and solicitation of a minor for sex. They've got to have those two things. No. I'm not talking about collecting. If a DA wants that pedophile or predator put away in jail, these are the three check marks they want. They want these three things. Correct. Right. Not yours. I'm going to show you what type of evidence you need and how you're going to collect it. So what evidence do you need? You need IP addresses. Always need IP addresses. You can use Wireshark. You can use whatever other tool you want to use. You need MAC addresses. Why did I write INMAP next to MAC addresses? You need INMAP because you also want to provide, when you're targeting an individual, you're chatting with a pedophile and you're talking to him/her about whatever they want to do. You've got to identify that person to the point where they can't get out of it. Now, there are a number of tools that are developed that can help you make that kind of happen. Yeah, if they're hopefully useful. There you go. What if you were talking to the pedophile and you were able to social engineer your way through to him/her in order to get access for your own very new program that you just wrote in your 7th grade computer science class? You know? So, email address. Got to get email address/addresses. I put next to it Mail Sleuth. Mail Sleuth is a free tool you can download. Works on Thunderbird, Outlook, and it does a full, complete trace of all the email headers from an email. Submit the email headers, you get back a 30, 40-page report on every single solitary line, every IP address traced out. Chat names, again, Wireshark. If you look at my original software, Internet Predator Tracker software, that program would not work whatsoever until first you put in a password for the system that you're using, and you had the ability to encrypt the entire session. Also, I had a little red button in it so that when you started chatting with a pedophile, or what you thought was a pedophile, you push that button, Wireshark's turned on, audio recording, video recording, the whole screen capture programs, Camtasia-like, is turned on as well. So you click one button, everything going on with your computer is collected. Because that way we got everything covered at that point. Pedophile chats or other forms of talk you need to collect. Pigeon, Empathy, Copeat. I've never used Copeat. I've always used Pigeon. Copy of any web pages. Use HTTrack to do it. Because again, you don't want the images from it. You want just the HTML code. Whatever code you can get from it is what you want. Facebook pages right now. Somebody reports a Facebook page to me that is a pedophile page or something similar to it. Our time right now is from the time of the reporting. Within 30 minutes, that page is gone. I've got a sheriff that is right down the street from Facebook that whenever I call him up, he or one of the other deputies there will go over to Facebook, and we're down to about 30 minutes to shut down a site. So they've got everything that's collected about the page. Like I said, Pedophile Reporter collects all the HTML of the page and uploads it. So this way we've got evidence saved. Any other network, IP, email, chats, information you may find. Red Notebook. How many of you have heard of Red Notebook or use it? How many of you have heard of or use Evernote? Okay. Red Notebook is an open source version of Evernote. At first I was thinking, all right, we could start using Evernote because I use Evernote every time I do some sort of cyber case because I can just dump everything that's collected in there.
For everyone who uses Evernote, all their passwords are
Last week, yep. Every single one. You're forced to reset. But the problem is, if you use Evernote to collect all this evidence, guess what's going to happen to your Evernote account? It's going to go away with the very first case you turn over. If you use Red Notebook, that can all be self-contained. And I'll show you exactly how it will be self-contained, so you don't have to lose it every time. Information about your online alias. Everybody, I'm sure everybody here is thinking about, okay, I need to collect the chats I have with the person. I need to collect the pictures, the videos, the things they want to send me. I need to collect all this stuff. You've got to collect as well your alias. Because if you're going to go online and do this, you're going to go online as an underage child. Well, I used to keep notebooks of everything. Every one of my aliases were written down in a notebook. Then I started using MySQL. So with MySQL, I've got a predator one, I've got an alias one. So when I'm working my case on pedophile A, it'll have all the information about the pedophile on one screen, and then on the other screen are all the individuals that I played. You know, I was this 10-year-old girl named Sally. I was a 12-year-old boy named John. And that has all my information. So you've got to have the information about your online alias to provide as well. Speaking of online aliases, being at a hacker conference is a little bit easier with this one. Phone numbers. You get in deep enough with any pedophile, they're going to want to call you. So what do you think is going to be the best possible way to allow a pedophile to have your phone number and, quote, verify you without really verifying you? No? Wow, I'm showing my age at this one. Okay, who are the phone freaks here? Got any phone freaks? Okay. What about a ring busy number? Guys know ring busy numbers? They're in every single area code. Give the pedophile a ring busy number as your phone number. When they call and go, hey, I thought you said this was your number. Oh yeah, my brother's on the phone. They've got your number. It works, but it's ringing busy. And you can... They're still around. You can still find them. Well, yeah, with Google Voice you can as well, and you can also, if you tie Google Analytics into it as well, you can actually get enough detailed information about the person contacting you that's useful. So that's one way to do it. But yeah, when I do my aliases, I always have a ring busy number. And, you know, it's always worked useful for me. If they want to send you one, this is the images thing, because every pedophile wants to send you images or wants you to send them images. So if they absolutely want to send you an image, have them send you to a dead drop email account. Create one, access it, and set it up. Whatever, Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, whatever you want to. Pushmail. Just create the email one time, okay? Set it up, leave it. Don't access it again. When the pedophile says, I want to send you this picture of this 7-year-old. Okay, here's my email. When they send it, don't access that email again. Stop your work. Go to law enforcement. Okay, so that's one way to do that. Storing the information. One of the biggest things that hurts pedophile cases is information not properly stored. In other words, people collect the information and then copy it to a CD and hand it to the police. You can't just copy the evidence to a CD and hand it to the police. That's very bad, and there's going to be no internet for you anymore. Okay? So you've got to prepare a report. Okay? What's the best way to store it? Copy all the files, run a SHA-2 on it. You're going to save the files to a folder on the CD, so you're going to burn a CD for it. You're going to save all the SH2s to another folder on the CD. You're going to provide a copy of a Windows, unfortunately, Windows SH2 checksum verifier to the police. Now, when you do this, again, you're going to show your checksums for every single file that you keep. You've got to, because they're first going to say this was altered, this was fake. First thing they're always going to say. So you've got to do your checksums on every file, and you've got to show it to them. Now, there are a number of ways of doing this. First is using IPT 2007. That's my original software was done for Windows because that's all the police had at the time. Brand new IPT 2013. I'm developing it right now, so anybody interested in helping me do some bug work on it is absolutely desperately needed. You can also use Tails on a USB stick. Who has a problem with that? Nobody? Come on, somebody's got to. Because you've got to have it set up as, how many of you use Tails? Or know of it at least? Okay, few of you. Tails is a great privacy protection system that's out there. It's absolutely fantastic. It runs Debian Live. The thing about it is it's supposed to run on CD, but you can get it to run on USB. And once you've got it running on USB, you can create a persistent volume to store all of your files. So you create one USB stick per case. When you go to hand it to the police, do you hand the police the USB or a CD? CD. You got to hand them the CD. They can't take the USB. You must install Tails on the stick and then make sure it's large enough. I usually start with a 16 gig USB stick for every case. You can recycle them if you want to, but you got to burn the entire thing over to your CD or DVD. Packaging. I've got to really run through this because I was just told 5 minutes. Packaging, I've got to tell you about, well, really quick. Here's what you need for packaging. Overview of the pedophile predator. You've got to answer the 5 W's. Who, what, when, why, where. Okay? You got to answer those in your original statement to them. NS lookups of any pedophile predator IPs, DNS lookups, email traces of any and all emails, MX records of the sites, trace routes of the IP, not from your computer because you don't want that showing up in court. Who is of the website, Google search on the email address, Bing search, Yahoo search, archive.org of the website that's been reported, and wiggle.net of the pedophiles wireless if you've got something like that with it. Real quick, those of you that really want to get further into this, please email me. I'll give you a copy of my report documents that I use. This is kind of my checklist. I do training classes once a month online, working with people. I know I'm going to run out of time. Delivery, really easy. You got 2 choices. You can deliver it to law enforcement yourself, or you can get it to me and I'll deliver it for you. I have some people that don't want to hand stuff over to the police for whatever reason. So, if you're one of those, contact me. If you're going to go to local law enforcement about this, you've always got to send a copy to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I work with DA Lush in Gwinnett County on all these cases that I have. But every time I go to meet with him, I've already sent a copy off to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I have one contact I've developed there, and I always send him a copy of everything. Real quick, who are you going to deliver it to? The police. You've got to talk, local police I'm talking about, you need to talk with their SVU group. A lot of local police are developing SVU groups now. Cybercrimes, at least find out who is close enough in their group to cybercrimes. Facilitate a relationship with them. The sheriff, you've got to talk with the sheriff directly. Don't talk to the deputies. The sheriff has to make the decisions. State police, cybercrimes person again. If you're going federal, you got 2 choices, FBI or Secret Service. My preference, Secret Service. Definitely Secret Service. They actually work really hard on this stuff. Okay, this one, and then I'm going to jump really fast over some things. How to approach them. Understand the first time you approach law enforcement, they don't want to hear from you. They don't care. Because you're just one other person bothering them. So what you need to do is you've got to prove yourself to them first. Don't prove it by collecting all the evidence against the pedophile and handing it over. Prove it to them by educating them first. Tell them how this stuff happens. Oh, I found out about this. Can I explain to you and your deputies how this actually works? Explain things to them. Do not meet them for the first time with a case. Talk to them first. Get to know them first. And lastly, you need to establish your background and credibility before you work with them. Evidence delivery. Pedophile characteristics. Just ask for my great allergies. There we go. Okay. So, pedophile characteristics. Man, my voice is going. There we go. Okay, that got rid of it. Okay, so, no, not hackers as well. Let's see, limited data. Okay, here we go. This is the stuff you want. Where can you find them? Keywords you're going to look for. Boy love, logo. Girl love, glow logo, G logo. Here is a whole set of terms. Everybody, you can add, I've got my cards up here. You're going to have, yep, time's up, I know. You'll get all these terms in the presentation. These are the symbols to look for of pedophile groups. These are pedophile groups that are online, that are actively online. Here are their websites as well. Onions. This is the big thing. Tor network. I told you before, where are you going to look for these pedophiles? There are your onions. They're pedophile onions. Active. They're not down yet. Anonymous has been going after some of these. These are all still active. They still show up. Reporting on social networks. You can use a pedophile reporter. Just click the button and that's it. Contacts, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Here's their website, phone number, mailing address to mail things. Human Trafficking Resource Center in case you're running into anybody that's actually trying to move people and children. Can you help? Absolutely. You can absolutely help in any way whatsoever, whether you're actually going to help track down people or if you want to help with coding or just dealing with the reports. Like I said, good days, we usually average about 120 to 150 reports every single solitary day. So it's a lot that we get. Blah, blah, blah. We're here to try and help out. Email me for a copy of the slides, jseanor at internetpredatortracker.com. The website's internetpredatortracker.com. Now, quiz time. How many years can you get a registered pedophile in North Carolina put away if they get on a social network? It is a Class 1 felony. How many years is that? Whoever gets the right answer, I've got a prize for you. No? 7.35. You're real close. Anybody? No? Keep going. Keep going. What? 25. 25 years, Class 1 felony. Here are your official spy sunglasses with mirrors on the inside of the lens to see who's following you. Contact information, www.internetpredatortracker.com. Emails, internetpredatortracker@gmail.com. jseanor at internetpredatortracker.com. I have a PGP key I can provide you if you want to do PGP back and forth about this. If you want to start using Silent Circle on your phone with me, let me know. And that's about it. But really, if any of you are interested whatsoever in doing this, the least thing you can do is tell everybody you know to download Pedophile Reporter for Google, Mozilla, okay? And for Internet Explorer as well. But just get people to use it. I don't know how many kids and parents I get phone calls from, or parents that I talk to at PTA meetings that don't know how to do it. It's it's got a little badge on the top of the bar. You click the badge, that's it. The tool does everything else. And you click send of the email, and it sends the email to me. We're covered with everything. You know, it's absolutely useful. Just do that much, please. If you want to do a little bit more, you can contact me for the next training date that I do online training for people. You want to go even further and actually help write code, please help write code for me. Because it's a lot to do. Yes, sir? What?